5 Ferraris rolled into the small street and parked by a small house like they owned the whole of Lagos. They did not hurry. They moved slowly, one after the other, bright and shiny, like 5 loud promises. People dropped their buckets. Children stopped playing. Even the Okada riders parked and stared. The cars stopped in front of a tiny house with cracked walls and a weak gate that never locked well. That tiny house belonged to Elliot Mensah. Elliot was a poor hunter. He was not the kind of man who had visitors. He was the kind of man who greeted people first, so they would not ignore him. He lived quietly on the edge of the city, where the noise of Lagos still reached you, but the bush was close enough to work in. When the first Ferrari door opened, Elliot's heart jumped. Men stepped out. Tall men, clean suits, dark glasses, the kind of men you see in Victoria Island, not in a small street like this. Then a woman came out of the second Ferrari. Elliot's mouth went dry. He knew that face. She was the woman he once saved, the pregnant woman who had cried like her life was ending. But now she looked different. She still had the same eyes, soft and sad. But she wore a neat dress and clean shoes. Her hair was well done. And she was no longer alone. She walked closer to Elliot's gate and called his name like she had never forgotten it. Elliot Mensah. Elliot stepped out slowly. His hands shook a little, but he tried to hide it. Yes, I am Elliot. The woman's eyes filled up again, but she did not cry the way she cried that day. This time, the tears looked like relief. It is you, she whispered. You are real. Before Elliot could speak, the last Ferrari door opened. A man stepped out, and when Elliot saw him, his whole body went cold, because that man was Damien Kensington. Damien was Elliot's stepbrother, the same Damien who had once looked at Elliot like he was nothing. The same Damien who left their family house years ago and never looked back. And now Damien stood there, dressed like a king, looking rich enough to buy the street, the houses, and the whole air around them. Damien took off his sunglasses and stared at Elliot like he was seeing a ghost. Then he said, in a low voice that made everyone go silent, "Brother." Elliot could not breathe. Months earlier, Elliot's life was simple. Not easy, but simple. He woke up before the sun rose. He drank water, tied his old boots, and carried his hunting bag. He walked through the bush near the outskirts, where Lagos still smelled like engines, but the trees still grew strong. Elliot did not hunt because he enjoyed it. He hunted because he had to. Some days, he caught small animals and sold them at a local spot in Mile 2. Some days, he came back with nothing. On those days, he ate Gary and slept with hunger talking in his belly. But Elliot never stole. He never begged. He had pride, even when pride did not pay bills. He also had pain. Elliot's father had died early. His mother later married a man who already had a son, Damien. At first, Elliot thought having a stepbrother would mean having a friend, but Damien never wanted friendship. Damien was sharp with words, even when he was young. He liked good things. He liked to win, and he hated being poor. When Elliot and Damien were still teenagers, Damien would tell people, "Do not stand too close to my family. Poverty can touch you." Elliot's mother would cry, but she could not change Damien. Then one day, Damien left. No goodbye, no message, just gone. After that, Elliot's stepfather became bitter and sick. Their home became quieter, and Elliot learned not to expect help from anyone. That was the kind of life Elliot was living when he met the crying woman. It happened in the afternoon. Elliot was returning from the bush, tired and dusty, when he heard a sound that did not match the birds or the wind. It was a human sound, a broken sound. Someone was crying. Elliot paused. His first thought was danger. In Lagos, you must be careful. Some people set traps with fake cries. Some people pretend to be in trouble just to pull you in. So Elliot did not rush. He moved quietly, stepping around dry leaves. Then he saw her. A woman sat on the ground near a small path, holding her belly with both hands. Her clothes were dirty. Her face was wet with tears. She looked like she had been walking for a long time and had reached the end of her strength. Elliot's throat tightened. She was pregnant, very pregnant. Elliot stayed a few steps away. "Madam," he said gently, "are you okay?" The woman lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were red and swollen. When she looked at Elliot, she looked afraid and ashamed at the same time. I am sorry, she said in a weak voice. Please, I am not trying to trouble you. Elliot frowned. Why are you here alone? The woman pressed her lips together. She tried to hold back tears, but the tears came anyway. He is sending people to look for me, she whispered. Elliot's heart beat faster. Who? She shook her head quickly. Please, do not ask me too much. If you know my name, it will enter your trouble. Elliot did not understand, but he could see fear sitting on her like a heavy bag. Madam, you cannot stay here, Elliot said. You need water. You need shade. The woman looked behind her, then back at him. If they find me, they will take my baby. Elliot blinked. Take your baby. The woman grabbed his arm suddenly, not hard, but with panic. Please, she begged, help me hide, just for today. I will leave Lagos. I will disappear. I just need to rest. Elliot hesitated. His mind warned him, this can destroy you. But his heart answered, she is a human being. Elliot looked at her belly. He looked at her shaking hands. He imagined his own mother in trouble and nobody helping her. So Elliot made a choice. Okay, he said. Stand up slowly. Lean on me. The woman tried to stand, but her legs trembled. Elliot supported her and helped her walk off the path, deeper into a place where the trees blocked the view from the road. He gave her his water. She drank like she had not tasted water in days. Then she whispered, My name is Serena Ashcroft. Elliot nodded, even though the name sounded like someone who did not belong in a place like this. Thank you, Serena said, breathing hard. Most people would leave me. Elliot swallowed. Who are the people looking for you, Serena? Serena opened her mouth to answer. Then Elliot heard it. Footsteps. Not one person. Not two. Many. And the voices came next. Male voices. Searching voices. Elliot's eyes widened. Serena froze, her hand flying to her belly. One voice said clearly, Not far away. Spread out. She cannot be far. The boss said we must bring her back today. Elliot's blood ran cold, because whoever this boss was, he sounded like someone who did not take no for an answer. And the footsteps were coming closer. Elliot did not think. He acted. The voices were close now. Too close. He gently pulled Serena behind a thick tree and placed a finger on his lips. Serena nodded quickly, fear filling her eyes. Her breathing was loud, so Elliot took off his shirt and pressed it softly against her mouth. Breathe slowly, he whispered. Footsteps crushed dry leaves nearby. Two men appeared on the path. They were strong and alert. One of them held a phone. She was here, the taller one said. I heard her crying. The second man looked around carefully. His eyes moved over the trees, the ground, the bushes. Elliot stayed still. His heart beat so hard, he feared they would hear it. Serena's body shook against the tree. Elliot placed his arm in front of her, like a shield. Even though he had nothing to fight with, the men moved closer. Madam, one of them shouted, please come out. You are only making things worse for yourself. Serena's eyes filled with tears again. She shook her head slowly. Elliot leaned close to her ear and whispered, Do not answer. The men waited. Silence followed. Then one of them sighed. She may have gone deeper into the city. The taller man frowned. Search again. The boss will not forgive us if we fail. They split up. One walked left. One walked right. Elliot counted his steps quietly. He watched the ground, the shadows, the direction of the wind. Then something unexpected happened. A loud horn sounded from the road. A Danfo bus sped past, its engine screaming. The sound distracted the men. Ah! One of them shouted from a distance. Let us check the other side. Their footsteps moved away, slowly, slowly, until there was nothing but silence again. Elliot waited. He waited longer than his body wanted to. Only when the bush returned to normal did he relax his arm. Serena covered her mouth and cried silently. They will not stop, she whispered. They never stop. Elliot looked at her carefully now. Her accent was polished. Her skin was clean, despite the dirt. Her fear was deep, not the fear of a poor woman, but the fear of someone running from power. Serena, Elliot said calmly, who is after you? Serena hesitated. Her lips shook. I ran away from my husband. Elliot raised his brows. Your husband? Yes, she said. He is very rich, very powerful. He controls people like toys. Elliot's stomach tightened. Why would he want to take your baby? Serena closed her eyes. Because he believes the child is a weakness. Elliot did not understand everything, but he understood one thing clearly. This trouble was heavy. Elliot helped Serena walk deeper into the bush until they reached a small hut he sometimes used to rest. It was not clean, but it was hidden. He sat her down and gave her food. Serena ate slowly, her hands shaking. Why are you helping me? She asked quietly. Elliot looked away. Because someone once told me I was nothing. I know how that feels. That night, Elliot could not sleep. Every sound woke him. Every shadow looked like danger. At dawn, Serena's condition became worse. She groaned and held her belly tightly. My stomach hurts, she cried softly. I think something is wrong. Elliot panicked. He was a hunter, not a doctor. Without thinking of himself, Elliot lifted her and carried her out of the bush. He used his little savings to take her to a small private clinic, far from where the men had searched. The nurse looked worried. She has been under stress, she said. But the baby is still safe. She needs rest. Elliot felt relief wash over him. He stayed outside the clinic the whole time, guarding the door like a soldier. When Serena came out, she looked weaker but calmer. You saved my child, she said, tears falling freely now. Elliot shook his head. No, you are strong. I only helped. Serena reached into her bag and brought out a gold ring. Please take this, she said. Elliot pushed her hand back gently. I did not help you for money. Serena stared at him like she had never seen a man like this before. That same evening, Elliot helped Serena leave Lagos quietly. He did not ask where she was going. He only watched her disappear into a moving car. Before she left, she held his hands tightly. If I survive this, she said, I will never forget you. Elliot watched her go. He thought that was the end. He was wrong, because far away, in a tall building in Lagos, a man stood by a glass window, listening to a report. She escaped, the man said calmly. Another voice replied, nervous. But we will find her. She cannot hide forever. The man smiled slowly. She belongs to me, he said, and anyone who helps her will answer to me. And Elliot, without knowing it, had just stepped into a world that was bigger, darker, and closer than he ever imagined. Life returned to its quiet shape for Elliot, but it never felt the same again. He went back to hunting. He went back to selling what he caught. People still passed him without noticing. His small house still creaked at night. But something had changed inside him. Sometimes, when Elliot closed his eyes, he saw Serena's face. He remembered how scared she was. He remembered the way she held her belly like it was the only thing keeping her alive. Weeks passed, nothing happened. Then months passed. Still, nothing happened. Elliot slowly convinced himself that the danger had ended, that Serena had escaped Lagos, that the powerful man looking for her had moved on to something else. One afternoon, Elliot returned home and found his gate slightly open. He froze. Elliot always locked his gate. Always. He stepped inside carefully. Nothing was missing. His mat was still there. His pot was untouched. But the air felt different. Someone had been there. That night, Elliot barely slept. The next morning, an elderly woman who sold food nearby pulled him aside. Elliot, she whispered. Men came here yesterday asking questions. Elliot's chest tightened. What kind of men? Clean men, she said. Not police, not area boys. They asked about you. Elliot thanked her and walked away slowly. Fear returned, sitting heavy in his chest. 2 days later, Elliot saw a black car parked far from his house. It did not move. It just waited. By the third day, the car was gone. Elliot stopped sleeping properly. Then, one evening, a letter was pushed under his door. Elliot picked it up with shaking hands. There was no sender's name, only one line written neatly. We know what you did. Elliot sat down hard on the floor. His mind ran in circles. Did they want money? Did they want revenge? Did they want Serena's location? But Elliot did not know where Serena was. That night, he made a decision. He would leave Lagos for a while. Early the next morning, Elliot packed a small bag, just clothes and food. He locked his door and stepped out. That was when he heard his name. Elliot Mensah. Elliot turned. A man stood across the street. He looked calm, too calm. He wore a neat shirt and clean shoes. "I only want to talk," the man said. Elliot's heart pounded. "I do not know you," the man smiled. "But we know you." Elliot took a step back. "What do you want?" The man's smile faded. "We want to understand why a poor hunter would risk his life for a woman he does not know." Elliot said nothing. The man stepped closer. "You helped Serena Ashcroft." Elliot's mouth went dry. The man nodded slowly. "Good, at least you are honest." Elliot's fists clenched. "If you are here to threaten me, you can leave. I do not know where she is." The man studied him carefully. "We are not here to hurt you." "Not yet." Those two words cut deep. Her husband wants answers. Elliot swallowed. "I did nothing wrong." The man tilted his head. "That depends on who is asking." Before Elliot could respond, the man stepped back. "Do not worry," he said lightly. "You will hear from us again." The man walked away and disappeared into a car. Elliot stood there long after the car was gone. He did not leave Lagos that day. Days later, a miracle happened. Elliot sold a large animal for a good price. The buyer paid more than usual. It felt like luck. Then another buyer came. Then another. For the first time in years, Elliot had money left after eating. He felt hopeful, but hope did not last long. One evening, Elliot returned home and found a woman sitting on his doorstep. She stood up when she saw him. It was Serena. She looked healthier, stronger. Her belly was gone, but her eyes were full of fear. "Elliot," she whispered, rushing toward him. "I am so sorry." Elliot stared at her, shocked. "Serena, what are you doing here?" "They found me," she said quickly. "I ran again, but this time, it is worse." Elliot's heart dropped. "Where is your baby?" Serena touched her chest. "Safe, hidden." Elliot looked around nervously. "You cannot stay here." "I know," she said, tears streaming. "But you are the only person I trust." Elliot wanted to say no. He wanted to protect himself, but he remembered her crying in the bush. He opened his door. Inside, Serena told him everything. About the marriage. About the control. About the man she married because her family pushed her. About the truth she discovered after she became pregnant. Elliot listened in silence. "His name is Damien Kensington," Serena said quietly. Elliot's breath stopped. "That is impossible," he whispered. Serena looked confused. "Why?" Elliot stood up slowly, his hands shaking. "Damien Kensington is my stepbrother." Serena's eyes widened, and at that moment, a loud engine sound filled the street. Not one engine, many. Elliot moved to the window. 5 luxury cars were turning into the street. "Ferraris!" Serena screamed softly. "They are here," she said. "He has found me." Elliot's legs felt weak, because this time, he was not just hiding a woman. He was standing in the path of his own blood, and the cars were stopping right in front of his house. The engines stopped. Silence fell on the street like a heavy cloth. Elliot felt his chest tighten as footsteps moved outside his gate. Serena backed away from the window, her hands shaking. "Please," she whispered. "If he sees me, everything ends." Elliot swallowed hard. His mind raced, but his body stayed calm. He had hunted in danger before. Fear was not new to him. A knock came, not loud, not angry. "Just calm, Elliot," a familiar voice said. "Open the gate." Elliot closed his eyes for a second. That voice belonged to Damien Kensington. He walked to the door and opened it slowly. Damien stood there, taller than Elliot remembered. His clothes were expensive. His face was smooth and confident. Behind him stood 4 men in suits, watching everything. Damien smiled. "Brother," he said softly, "it has been a long time." Elliot did not smile back. "What do you want, Damien?" Damien's eyes moved past Elliot, searching the inside of the house. "You know why I am here," he replied. Elliot stepped forward and blocked the doorway. "There is no one here," Elliot said. Damien laughed quietly. "You were never good at lying." One of the men stepped forward. "Sir, should we?" Damien raised his hand. "No." He looked back at Elliot. "I did not come to fight you." Elliot scoffed. "You brought 5 Ferraris to a poor man's house." "What should I think?" Damien's smile faded a little. "I brought respect." Elliot stared at him. "Respect? You disappeared for years. You never asked if your family was alive. Now you talk about respect? Damien's jaw tightened. For a moment, his rich calm cracked. Careful, he said. Do not forget who I am. Elliot did not move. I know exactly who you are. Damien stepped closer, lowering his voice. Then you know you should not hide my wife. The word hit Elliot like a slap. Your wife? Elliot repeated. Yes, Damien said. Serena Kensington. Behind Elliot, Serena covered her mouth. Tears ran down her face. Damien's eyes softened. Serena, he called gently. Come out. No one will hurt you. Serena shook her head, even though Damien could not see her. Elliot clenched his fists. She is scared of you. Damien laughed, but there was no joy in it. Scared? I gave her everything. You controlled her, Elliot snapped. You hunted her like an animal. Damien's face hardened. You do not understand our life. Elliot stepped closer. I understand enough. You wanted to take her child. Damien's eyes flashed. That child carries my name. Elliot shook his head. No, that child carries fear. The street was quiet. Neighbors watched from a distance, whispering. Damien took a deep breath. Elliot, he said slowly, step aside. This does not concern you. Elliot laughed bitterly. It concerned me the day I saved her. Damien stared at him. So you admit it? Yes, Elliot said firmly. I saved her. One of the men behind Damien shifted uneasily. Damien studied Elliot like a stranger. You always wanted to be the good one, Damien said. The helper. The hero, Elliot replied calmly. I just did what you could not do. Damien's lips pressed together. His voice dropped. You embarrassed me. Elliot frowned. Is that all this is? Damien turned slightly, pacing. Do you know how powerful men think? A woman running away makes you look weak. Elliot shook his head slowly. You are not angry because she left. You are angry because you lost control. Damien stopped walking. His eyes became cold. Do not speak to me like that, he said. Elliot stood his ground. I will speak the truth. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Damien smiled again. A dangerous smile. You have changed, brother, he said. Poverty usually breaks people, but it made you stubborn. Elliot answered, and money made you cruel. Damien turned to his men. Search the house. Serena screamed. Elliot stepped forward instantly. No. Two men moved closer. Damien raised his hand again. Stop. He looked at Elliot carefully. I will make you an offer, Damien said. Give me Serena, and I will forget everything. Elliot shook his head without thinking. No. Damien's eyes narrowed. Think carefully. I have, Elliot replied. She stays. Damien leaned closer, his voice low. You are choosing her over your own blood. Elliot replied quietly. You stopped being my blood when you chose power over people. Damien straightened. His phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression changed. He looked back at Elliot and smiled again, wider this time. Interesting, Damien said. Very interesting. Elliot frowned. What? Damien stepped back toward his cars. Enjoy your night, Damien said calmly. This story is not over. He got into the Ferrari. As the cars started their engines, Serena ran to the door, crying. He is planning something, she said. I know him. Elliot watched the cars drive away. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked it. A message flashed on the screen. You cannot protect her forever. Elliot's heart sank, because for the first time, he realized this was no longer just about Serena. It was about survival, and Damien had just started his real move. The night after the Ferraris left, Elliot did not sleep. He sat on the floor with his back against the wall, listening to every sound outside. Serena sat quietly on his mat, holding her hands together like she was praying without words. They will come back, she said softly. Damien never leaves things unfinished. Elliot nodded. Then we must finish it before he does. Serena looked at him. How? Elliot took a deep breath. By telling the truth. The full truth. Serena hesitated. Her eyes filled with fear again. If the truth comes out, he will destroy everyone. Elliot looked at her calmly. You ran because the truth was already destroying you. Silence sat between them. Then Serena spoke. Damien did not just want control, she said slowly. He wanted silence. She She explained everything. Damien had built his wealth fast. Too fast. People feared him, not because of money alone, but because of what he knew and what he could hide. When Serena became pregnant, she learned things she was never meant to know. Documents, phone calls, meetings that ended in fear. When she asked questions, Damien changed. That was when I knew my child was not safe, Serena said. Elliot listened, his jaw tight. So you ran, he said. Yes, Serena replied. And you saved me. At dawn, Elliot made a bold move. He called a number Serena had kept hidden. A woman answered. Her voice was firm and clear. This is Margaret Collins, the woman said. Who is calling? Serena's voice shook. It is me. There was a pause. Where are you? Margaret asked sharply. With someone who saved my life, Serena replied. Within hours, the street felt different. Not loud, not dramatic, just careful. 2 unmarked cars parked at a distance. People walked with purpose. Phones rang quietly. Damien arrived again in the afternoon. This time, there were no Ferraris, only one black car. He stepped out alone. Elliot opened the gate before he knocked. Damien stopped when he saw Serena standing beside Elliot, calm but brave. So, Damien said, smiling lightly. You are still here? Yes, Serena replied. And I am not running anymore. Damien's smile faded. You think hiding behind my brother makes you strong? Serena shook her head. No, telling the truth does. Damien laughed once. There is no truth that can touch me. 80 SIDS. A voice spoke from behind him. That is where you are wrong. Damien turned. Margaret Collins stepped forward, holding a file. Men in plain clothes moved quietly into the street. Neighbors watched in silence. Damien's face changed for the first time. Margaret, he said carefully, this is unnecessary. Margaret looked at him coldly. So was your cruelty. She opened the file. Serena is not your weakness, Margaret said. She is your witness. Damien took a step back. You do not know what you are doing. Elliot spoke up, his voice steady. I know what I am doing. Damien looked at him, truly looked at him, and scoffed. You think you won? Elliot shook his head. No. I think the truth won. The men stepped forward. Damien raised his hand slowly. As he was led away, he turned to Elliot. You were always poor, Damien said bitterly. Even now, Elliot met his eyes. And you were always afraid. Damien said nothing more. The street returned to normal slowly. That evening, Serena sat outside Elliot's house, watching the sky. You changed my life, she said quietly. Elliot smiled softly. You changed mine too. A car arrived to take Serena away. Somewhere safe, somewhere quiet. Before she left, she held Elliot's hands. I will come back, she said, not to hide, but to stand. Elliot watched her go. He returned to his small house, sat on his mat, and breathed deeply. For the first time in a long while, Lagos felt peaceful. But somewhere far away, doors were opening, and stories were beginning. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? Do well to let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Stay blessed.